It's the ultimate showdown between Johns Creek and Alpharetta to see which city is the best. We've got 9 categories to judge each city on, and at the end, we'll count them up to see which city wins the most amount of categories. Starting off, let's talk about this downtown area or the city center. When you look for a city that has a great city center, you want an area that has like easy walkability to the different shops and the different restaurants in that city center. Alpharetta has a great city center, no, or downtown area. Downtown Alpharetta has lots of shopping, lots of restaurants. They've even got that like green lawn thing in the middle, which makes it easy for kids to play or for grown-ups to picnic or whatever. It's a super convenient area, but Johns Creek doesn't really have a city center at all. So I'm going to give this first category to Alpharetta. And then the next category is home prices. You certainly want to live in an area where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. You want the most home for your money. And so when we compare these two, Alpharetta has an average home price of about $725,000, and Johns Creek has an average home price of about $690,000. So you're going to get more home for your money in Johns Creek. So the winner of this category goes to Johns Creek. Okay, this next category is the public school system. Of course, if you're thinking about moving to Alpharetta or Johns Creek, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm the one who answers those phone calls and those texts and those emails, and I'd be happy to help with your moving needs to the area. Thank you so much to everybody who has reached out. I'm always happy to help. But when it comes to the public school system, you got to keep in mind that Johns Creek used to actually be part of Alpharetta. I believe it was in the early 2000s when Johns Creek separated itself from Alpharetta and became its own city. So one of the reasons why so many people debate on which one of these two cities is the best is because they're so similar. In fact, they are neighboring cities, and there are so many things that are similar about these two cities. So when it comes to many of the categories that we're talking about here, it's not really like one of these cities is way better than the other. It's usually a very small difference between these two cities, and that certainly is the case for the public school system. The public schools in both of these cities are great and certainly some of the best in all of Metro Atlanta, so it's hard to pick which one of these two would be better, but because Alpharetta High School is an 8 out of 10 according to greatschools.org, and Johns Creek High School is a 9 out of 10 according to greatschools.org, I've given this category to Johns Creek. The next category that we're talking about is community. Now, this one is kind of a hard one to judge, but we'll give our best shot here. So I think because Johns Creek is a bit newer than Alpharetta, they've just only recently in the last 20 years or so become their own city. There's still a lot of pride for the city of Johns Creek. Like, it's not uncommon for a city to have become established in the last 20 years. It actually has happened with quite a few cities in the Metro Atlanta area. Sandy Springs is another example. Also, Milton is another example. So Johns Creek is one of those cities that still has a lot of the residents that have that like pride for Johns Creek. Like, they're, we're not anybody else's city. We are our own city, and we are proud to be residents of Johns Creek. So when it comes to community, I'm going to give the slight edge to Johns Creek. Now, on the flip side of that coin, you got to think a lot of the infrastructure, things like EMS and fire departments and police departments, electricity, power line poles, internet capabilities is all kind of just now finishing being developed in Johns Creek. I mean, Johns Creek has been around for a while, and they've certainly done a great job at all of those things, but Alpharetta has been a city for a much longer amount of time. So when it comes to infrastructure, Alpharetta is the one that really has all of those things in place for a while now, and the infrastructure in Alpharetta, in my opinion, is a little better than Johns Creek. Okay, now let's look at parks and green space. Again, because these two cities are right next to each other, it's kind of similar. Alpharetta has Willis Park, Webbridge Park, Brook Street Park, Alpharetta Greenway, and Rockmill Park. And Johns Creek has Newtown Park, OC Park, Audrey Mill Nature Preserve, Shake Rag Park, and Morton Road Park. Of all of those parks, my favorite happens to be Audrey Mill Preserve, so I'm going to give this slight edge to Johns Creek when it comes to parks and green space. Now, a big reason why many people move to any city is because they want to be in an area that has plenty of jobs. So let's take a look at which one of these two cities has more employers or more job opportunities. For the most part, Johns Creek is mostly residential. Again, they don't really even have like a typical kind of city center or downtown area. And one of the reasons for this is that it's not quite as developed as Alpharetta is. Alpharetta has been around for much longer. So not only does Alpharetta have a healthy residential area, but they have plenty of commercial areas and office spaces. This is something that Alpharetta certainly does a little better than Johns Creek. In Alpharetta on Northwinds Parkway, Westside Parkway, and Haynesbridge Road, there are lots of different office complexes there, lots of employers. So when it comes to jobs, I'm going to give the win to Alpharetta. Another big thing that you want to think about when you're moving to a new area is how easy it's going to be to get around. Specifically, when it comes to moving to Metro Atlanta, you want to have easy, convenient access to the city of Atlanta, especially if you're going to be living in the city but working in Atlanta. You want to be able to get to Atlanta easily, especially considering how much traffic we have here. And Johns Creek is kind of off the beaten path a little bit when it comes to Alpharetta. Alpharetta has Highway 9 and Highway 400 going right through the middle of the city, so access to Atlanta from Alpharetta is far easier than Johns Creek. And then lastly, and arguably the most important, is which one of these two cities has the best shopping. Again, Johns Creek is a lot of residential areas. They do have some shopping in Johns Creek, but it's not quite as common to find that kind of developed commercial areas as you would in Alpharetta. Alpharetta has some of the best shopping in all of Metro Atlanta, the Avalon, the Halcyon, downtown Alpharetta. So plenty of shopping and plenty of very popular shopping areas in Alpharetta. So certainly going to give Alpharetta the win on that factor as well. Now, keep in mind that Johns Creek is very close to Alpharetta. Again, they border each other. So you could very easily live in Johns Creek and only have a 10 to 15 minute drive to any one of these shopping areas that I listed that are in Alpharetta. So while Alpharetta does have the better shopping, it's still very easy to access those things from Johns Creek. So if we count up all 9 of these categories, Alpharetta takes the win on 5 of those categories and Johns Creek takes 4. So I guess we're saying Alpharetta is the better city of the two. They're still very similar cities, but I would say Alpharetta is a little bit better. And one of the main reasons for that is because it's been established for much longer. And there are a lot of great things about living in Alpharetta. But there are some downsides to living here as well. If you want a full list of the pros and cons of living in Alpharetta, check out this video. I'll see you there.